I've scored perfectly on back-to-back SAT math sections, and in today's video, I'll be doing a walkthrough of the digital SAT practice test 1's math sections. This is going to include both section 1 and section 2 in that order. So with that being said, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, and let's go ahead and get started with question 1. So question 1 states, what is 10% of 470? To solve this, all we have to do is 470 and multiply it by 0.1. That'll give us our answer of 47, which is B. So let's go ahead and move on to question 2. Which equation has the same solution as the given equation? All right, well, I see all my answers are 4x equals something, so I'm gonna go ahead and subtract 6 from both sides. That'll leave me with 4x is equal to 12, and I don't actually have to solve for x because as we can see, our answer there will be C. So let's go ahead and move on to question 3. We've got the total cost in dollars to rent a surfboard consists of a $25 service fee and a $10 per hour rental fee. A person rents the surfboard for T hours and intends to spend a maximum of 75. Okay, so it's gonna be less than 75, or I guess it's maximum, so it could be less than or equal to rent the surfboard. Which inequality represents the situation? It gave us T for hours. I put in H, so just keep in mind we'll have to switch that to T. Option A, not correct. Option B, we know that T is our variable here. It's not our one-time cost. Option C is incorrect. Option D is correct. We have $25 one-time charge plus a $10 charge per hour, which is represented as T. It has to be less than or equal to 75, so D is our answer there. Let's go ahead and move on to question 4. Okay, it's going to take me a little bit to scroll there. Let me get the right side of the screen. There we go. All right, question number 4. The function g is defined by g of x is equal to x squared plus 9. For which value of x is g of x equal to 25? All right, so we just got to set this equal to 25. So we'll have 25 is equal to x squared plus 9. We'll subtract 9 from both sides. That'll give us 16 is equal to x squared. Take the square root of both sides. That's going to give us 4 is equal to the value of x. We're asked for which value of x is g of x equal to 25. So that'd be 4. So our answer is A. Notice that at the end, after I got my value of x, I went back and I checked what I'm asked to answer with. In this case, it is just the value of x. Sometimes it may be the value of 2x plus 1 or something like that. So always make sure you are paying attention to that. All right, that being said, let's go ahead and move on to question number 5. We've got each face of a fair 14-sided die, so it's a fair 14-sided die, is labeled with a different number 1 through 14, with a different number appearing on each face. If the die is rolled one time, what is the probability of rolling a 2? Well, 2 is only on one of the 14 faces. Okay, so our answer here would be 1 out of 14. It's not 2 out of 14. 2 is just representative of one of the 14 faces, and only one of the 14 faces has that number 2 on it. So the answer there is going to be A, 1 over 14. Let's go ahead and move on to question 6. All right, so we got a printer produces posters at a constant rate of 42 posters per minute. At what rate in posters per hour does the printer produce the posters? On the SAT math section, always pay attention to anything that is underlined. In this case, we have a unit conversion. So we are converting our 42 posters per minute, which I'm going to represent as P over M. Those aren't variables. Those are just representative of our units. Now we have to convert this into posters per hour. All right, so to do that, we need to get rid of this minutes. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply by the fact that we have 60 minutes per hour. And this will give us, our minutes will cancel and we'll be left with posters per hour. So let's go ahead and put this in our calculator. So that's going to be 42 times 60. Keep in mind, this is the digital SAT, which means you can use your calculator on all portions of this digital SAT. So we have 2520 as our answer there. Okay, so that'd be 2520 posters per hour. As you can see, we have P over H. So 2520 is our answer for number 6. Let's go ahead and move on to number 7. Once again, anytime we are kind of switching sides, it will take me a minute because of the screen recording software I'm using. I have to switch the part that it is recording. So let's go ahead and get to number 7. Okay. There we go. All right, number 7. The function f is defined by the equation f of x is equal to 7x plus 2. What is the value of f of x when x is equal to 4? In this case, it's pretty simple, right? We just have f of x when x is 4. We put in 4 for x. That'll give us 7 times 4, which is 28 plus 2. 28 plus 2 is 30, so our answer is 30. All right, so that one right there is pretty simple. Moving on to number 8 now. A teacher is creating an assignment worth 70 points. Okay, I'm guessing that is going to be a total. The assignment will consist of questions worth 1 point and questions worth 3 points. Which equation represents a situation where x represents number of 1 point questions, y represents number of 3 point questions? Okay, it's going to total out to 70 because that's how much the whole assignment is worth. These are going to sum together. It says y represents 3 point questions. Okay, so we have our equation here. A is not that, B is not that, C has these two mixed. Okay, watch out for that. It's got the wrong y and the wrong x coefficient. It has them switched around. And then D, it looks like we got the right answer. I'll quickly check to make sure that we do have x representing the number of 1 point questions. That is true. Y representing the number of 3 point questions. Okay, so there we go. All right, so D is our answer. Always watch out for this right here where they flip the coefficients on you. Okay, that's a simple mistake you can make, so always pay close attention to what X represents, what any sort of variable represents in the question. In this case, we get our answer there is going to be D. Let's go ahead and move on to number 9. Right triangles LMN and PQR are similar. Okay, so we have similar triangles. L and M correspond to P and Q. Okay, so as we can see, first one, second one, which means third one. So that's perfect. Angle M has a measure of 53. What is the measure of angle Q? Well, we see that these are similar triangles. M corresponds to Q. Therefore, they're going to have the same angle measure. And our answer there will be 53, which is answer choice B. Okay, moving on to question 10. Once again, this will take me a couple seconds to switch the screen side in this screen recording software. So let me just get this over. In this case, we are going to, there we go. All right, so number 10. Solution to the given system of equations is xy. What is the value of x? All right, immediately what I'm looking at whenever I have stacked equations is either plus, minus, or substitution. Sometimes we'll have to multiply the top or the bottom equation by some number. In this case, it's clearly going to be substitution. I guess maybe I shouldn't say clearly, but it is going to be substitution in this case. And the reason why is because we have y is equal to negative 3x. Okay, that's an indication I'm probably going to end up substituting in that negative 3x for y. If I take a look at the question, it's asking for the solution to the system of equations, xy. What is the value of x? Okay, so we need to solve for x. We don't really care about solving for y. In order to solve for x, we want to actually get rid of y and get everything in terms of x. So this works out perfectly. We have 4x plus negative 3x. That will end up leaving us with 1x left, and we would get that x is equal to 15 because 4x minus 3x leaves us with x. X is going to equal 15. Our answer there is going to be C. Once again, pay attention to what you're asked to answer with. In this case, only just the value of x, not 2x plus 1 or anything like that. So our answer there is just C. All right, moving on to number 11 now. All right, so I'm going to actually cover up the question numbers because I have much room on my screen. Which of the following equations is the most appropriate linear model for the data shown in the scatter plot? All right, first thing I'm going to check is my axes. I see I've got zeros both here, so that's good to know. I see that my y-intercept is going to be somewhere roughly around 10, and obviously we have this negative slope here. Okay, so in this case, we want most appropriate linear model for the data shown in the scatter plot. Okay, keep in mind linear model. All right, we've got option A and B both have negative slopes, so that's good, but option A has a negative y-intercept, so I can get rid of that. Option B's got the positive y-intercept. Looks like it's probably got the right slope. I'll quickly check C and D. C and D both have positive slopes, so they're going to be wrong. B will have to be our correct answer. We can go ahead and move on. Let's see. Okay, once again, I've got to switch the side of my screen. So just give me 1 second to do that. All right, there we go. Question 12. Okay, we've got a graph. Graph of y equals f of x is shown where the function f is defined by f of x equals ax cubed plus bx squared plus cx plus d, where a, b, c, and d are constants. For how many values of x does f of x equal 0? Okay, so how many values of x does f of x equal 0? Well, let's find all the points where f of x equals 0. F of x equals 0 where we're crossing our x-intercept, okay, which we see happens at 3 different points. So for how many values of x does f of x equals 0? That'd be 3 because we have 3 of those points where we cross that x-intercept. So our answer there is going to be C. Moving down to question 13 now. We've got Vivian bought party hats and cupcakes for $71. Okay, so that's a total between the two that she spent. Each package of party hats cost $3. So we have $3 per package of party hats. I'll represent that as H for hats. And each cupcake cost $1. So we'll have just C for cupcakes. If Vivian bought 10 packages of party hats, okay, so we'll probably be substituting in that H equals 10. How many cupcakes did she buy? Okay, so we know she spent 71. We know that's the sum of 3H plus C. We can plug in that 10 for H. That'll give us 71 is equal to 3 times 10, which is 30 plus C. Therefore, we subtract 30 from each side. 71 minus 30 leaves us with 41 as the value of C. Quickly double check what we're asked to answer with. Okay, we see that we're asked to answer with how many cupcakes she bought, which is 41. Moving on, let's go ahead and go to question number 14. Okay, once again, I've got to switch the side of my screen, so just give me about 5 seconds to do that. Okay, there we go. Question 14. What is one of the solutions to the given equation? All right, well, immediately what I'm going to look to do here is go ahead and factor because we have it set equal to 0. Another option you could use here is Desmos, but in this case, I think it's probably faster just to go ahead and factor. All right, so if I'm factoring this out, looking for numbers that multiply to get me negative 24 and sum to positive 10. Let's see, we got Z, 6 and 4 would make sense here. Let's see if that would work. No, 6 and 4 wouldn't work. 12 and 2, that would work. So we could have X plus, or Z plus 12, and then we can have Z minus 2. It's going to equal 0. So what is one of the solutions to the given equation? All right, well, one of them would be positive 2, so we can just go with that. We could also go with a negative 12 as well. So those would be the 2 possible solutions. We only need to do one of them, so I would just put in 2 personally, but you could take your pick there. And if you want to see how this factors, I'll just quickly foil it for you. So you have that plus 12z, you also have this minus 2z, okay, and then you also have that minus 24, and then you obviously have that z squared. So the key thing there is that plus 12z minus 2z gets you plus 10z, and then you have negative 2 times 12 gets you negative 24. All right, anyways, there's question 14. Question 15, bacteria are growing in a liquid growth medium. There were 300,000 cells per milliliter during an initial observation. The number of cells per milliliter doubles every 3 hours. Okay, so we got our initial amount, 300,000. We are doubling every 3 hours. How many cells per milliliter will there be 15 hours after the initial observation? Okay, so I'm gonna actually write this a little bit bigger so you can kind of see that this is indeed an exponent, okay? So the reason that we have 15, or I guess I'll kind of explain this whole thing. Okay, so the equation for exponential growth. We have our initial value, right? This initial observation at which we have 300,000 cells per milliliter. Okay, so our initial value in an exponential growth equation will go here, right? It's just the initial value stays there. Next thing we have is gonna be our growth factor. Our growth factor is 2 because we are doubling. So since we are doubling, our growth factor is 2. Growth factor goes in parentheses here. Now, what are we raising our growth factor to? What power? That comes in where we have the fact that we are doubling every 3 hours. Okay, since we're doubling every 3 hours, a good way to think about this is the following. We have 300,000 growth rate or growth factor of 2. If we're doubling every 3 hours and we had 3 over 3, as you can see, we'd have 300,000 times 2, which gives us 600,000, so we'd be doubling, right? So that's why we need to have that, that denominator of 3, because we're doubling every 3 hours, not every single hour. Okay, so with that being said, we have to ask ourselves then how many cells per milliliter will there be 15 hours after the initial observation? Well, that's where we get that numerator of 15. So now we get that 15 over 3. All right, so from here, we can go ahead and put this in our calculator. So let's go ahead and do that. So we've got 300,000 times 2 raised to the power of 15 over 3. 15 over 3 is the same as 5. And that'll give us our answer of 9.6 million. So our answer there would be D. Okay, moving on to question 16, which expression is equivalent to, and then we've got all of this right here. So the first thing I'm going to look to do, in this case, we've got addition. I see that we've got 6 and 12, so I can probably factor out a 6. I've got y squared and y squared. I've got x squared, and I've got x to the power of 8, which we could actually break down into x squared times x to the power of 6, because that would then sum to x to the power of 8, so that works out great for us. So let's go ahead and factor out 6. We know we have y squared because that's in both. We know we have x squared because that's in both. And now we have to figure out what we're also going to multiply that by. All right, well, in order to get this first value of 6 times x to the power of 8 y squared, we would have to multiply by x to the power of 6. And then over here with this plus 12x squared y squared, we would have to also multiply by 2 in order to get this 12. But the x squared and y squared are already taken care of over here. Okay, so we've gone ahead and factored this. Now let's go ahead and look at our options. We've got option A. Let's actually just see if we have one that matches up perfectly with what we got. 6x squared y squared, it's the same as 6y squared x squared, and then we have the x to the power of 6 plus 2. Okay, so our answer there will be C. I could go through and show you why A, B, and D are wrong, but I'm not going to do that just because it's kind of pointless, right? You saw how I factored this. We see C is equivalent. I just don't feel like showing you why all the other ones are wrong there. All right, let's go ahead and go on to 17. I will go ahead and switch sides on my screen. There we go. And if you're wondering why I'm not using Blue Book to show this, it's because you notice how I'm switching sides on my screen here. It's way easier for me to actually do that than to screen record Blue Book, because Blue Book, the questions like jump around left and right all the time, and it would take me way longer to like set up the screen capture. So anyways, that's just a side note on why I'm not doing this through Blue Book, even though this is the digital SAT. It's just way easier for me to screen record on this, even though it takes a couple seconds to switch sides. Anyways, question 17. A neighborhood consists of a 2-hectare park and a 35-hectare residential area. The total number of trees in the neighborhood is 3934. Equation 2x plus 35y. 35y is 394. It represents the situation. Which of the following is the best interpretation of x in the context? All right, well, what does x represent? We see here it's getting multiplied by 2, which we know it's a 2-hectare park. Okay, and this is ultimately being used to give us our total number of trees. So it would have to be the number of trees per hectare in the park. Okay, so we've got option A, the average number of trees per hectare in the park. That would be correct. I'll quick show you why B, C, and D are wrong. B says average number of trees per hectare in residential area. That would be representative of the value Y. And then we have C, total number. That'd be 3934. And then a D, total number of trees in the residential area. Or I'm sorry, total number of trees in the park. Sorry. C would not be a 3934. C says the total number of trees in the park That'd be representative of 2 times X, and then D would be representative of 35 times Y. Okay, anyways, want to show you why those are wrong. Let's go ahead and move on to 18. Once again, I got to switch sides here, so just give me a couple seconds on that. Drop a comment or like the video. Anyways, moving on to number 18. We've got the graph shows relationship between the number of shares of stock from company A, which is represented by X, number of shares of stock from company B, which is represented by Y, that Simone can purchase. Which equation can represent this relationship? All right, once again, key thing I'm going to take a look at is my axes. Always make sure I've got 0, 0. Otherwise, I need to make note of that. In this case, we got company B, company A. See Y-intercepts right around 40. See we have negative slope. Okay, let's go ahead and move on. Which equation can represent this relationship? All right, so this is a pretty simple question, looking for the equation represented. First thing I'm going to take a look at is the one that are in slope-intercept form, because those are easier to interpret. We have y equals 8x plus 12. I know that that's the wrong y-intercept. And then if I take a look at C, we have 12x plus 8, wrong y-intercept. Now I'm between B and D. Between these two, they're both in standard linear form, so I'm going to use this equation here. M is equal to negative A over B. If you don't know what that is, we can apply it to questions that are in standard linear form. Standard linear form looks like B and D, where you have a coefficient in front of X, a coefficient in front of Y, and then that being set equal to some constant like this. All right, so that being said, your A value is going to be what's in front of your X, and your B value is going to be what's in front of your Y. So option B would have M is equal to negative 8 over 12, which would equal out, if we're simplifying down, to it'd be negative 2 over 3. Now, if I'm going to go up to my graph, I see that we've got, we start at this 40 value, and then we go down. So we go down 40 and we go over 60. So down 40 over 60. Simplify that down. That is also going to be negative 2/3. Okay, so that's also negative 2/3. So put a check by B. I'll quick check D, just check its slope. Realistically, the answer is going to be B here. And we know that because it's got the right slope. And we see that these two are flipped around. Okay, but I'll just quick show you why that has to be the case. Okay, and I guess I'll actually just explain it. All right, so I know it's going to be B because we have the correct slope. And you literally just have to glance at D, and you know it has to be wrong because it's got the same signs here, but it's got the coefficient in front of Y and X flipped. So you really don't have to calculate the slope here. Just by glancing, you should be able to tell that it's got to be B, but I'll quick show you how you can calculate this just for practice. So you would have negative 12 over 8, and as you can see, that would end up being negative 3 over 2, which is not the slope. So you could write out that, but realistically, if you see that you've got, B has the correct slope here, and then you just glance at D, you can see it's got, the 12 and the 8 flipped. So obviously B would have to be correct. But anyways, getting lost a little bit in the weeds there, aren't I? Moving on to number 19, we've got circle A's got radius 3n, circle B's got radius 129n, where n's a positive constant. The area of circle B is how many times that of area of circle A? Okay, so we got circle B over circle A, and the reason it's over circle A is because we want to know how many times it is greater than, or how many times circle B is to circle A, right? So that's going to be, circle A's got 3n for its radius. Now keep in mind the area of a circle is pi r squared, so pi 3n squared. Okay, and then on top we're going to have same thing, it's also a circle, but in this case we have a radius of 129n. And always pay attention to if it's a radius or denominator. Okay, they could flip that up on you, so always pay attention there. Now from here, got to recognize a couple things. Obviously our pi's are going to cancel. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to write, now that our pi's are canceled, I'll quick show what this can equal out to. You could write this also as 129 squared times n squared over 3 squared n squared. And as you can see, your n squareds are going to cancel as well. So then you just have 129 squared over 3 squared, which we can put in our calculator. So let's go ahead and do that. 129 squared divided by 3 squared. That's going to give you 1849. So that'd be answer choice D. All right, let's go ahead and move on to number 20. Once again, I got to switch sides here. So go ahead and take this moment to drop a comment on videos that you want me to make next or videos you want me to make in the future. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on to number 20, switching sides. There you go. All right. Frequency table summarizes the 57 data values in the data set. What is the maximum data value in the data set? Okay, key thing here is maximum data value in the data set. As we see, our data values are lifted in this left side of, or this left column. Okay, what is the maximum data value? We see it's 14. The mistake that some people would make here is they would see maximum data value. They would look in the frequency table and they would say it's got to be 11 because that is the one that has the most, that's the data value with the highest frequency, right? That's the data value with the highest frequency, but we need the maximum data value, not the data value with the highest frequency. Those two things are different. Pay attention to that on the SAT. All right, anyways, 21, a circle in the XY plane has a diameter with endpoints 2, 4, and 2, 14. Okay, immediately what jumps out to me is 2 and 2, and then 4 to 14. The reason that what immediately jumps out to me is 2 and 2 is because if I have the same X coordinate in my circle, and I'll actually just quickly draw this out so you can see what goes on in my mind here. We've got X value 2, and we've got Y values of, all right, 14 and 4. Okay, well, if I know that they are both at that 2, for their endpoints, and then I draw this circle, right? It looks something like this. Okay. I know that to get the radius, all I got to do is take the difference of the y's, right? So 14 minus 4 would give us 10. That's our diameter. And then our radius then is going to have to equal 5 because it's 10 over 2. Anyways, an equation of the circle is x minus 2 squared plus y minus 9 squared r squared, where r is a positive constant. What's the value of r? Okay, we already have that. It's going to be 5. So just to quickly elaborate on what I look for here. I look for if the x values are the same and if the y values are the same, because if they had different x values but the same y values, right, you can pretty much do the same thing. It's just in that case, your points would be like here, and you draw the line like this. So yeah, anytime you have a circle like that and you have endpoints, look to see if the x values are the same or if the y values are the same, and then that'll save you a bunch of time. As you can see, it did here. I didn't really even have to mess with the circle equation just because I could tell that we had that 2 and the 2 for the x values. Anyways, moving on to number 22. Okay, once again, I got to switch sides of my screen. So go ahead and take this moment to turn on notifications and subscribe. Okay, there we go. Question 22. The measure of angle R is 2 pi over 3 radians. Measure of angle T is 5 pi over 12 radians greater than the measure of angle R. What is the measure of angle T in degrees? Okay, so we know that angle T, I'm just going to call that T, is going to equal the measure of angle R, which is 2 pi over 3. And then it's going to be 5 pi over 12 greater than the angle R. So plus 5 pi over 12. Okay, from here, I'm going to go ahead and get a common denominator. I'm just going to make the common denominator 12. So I know that I got to multiply my numerator and denominator here by 4. Okay, so 2 times 4 is going to give me 8. So I'll have 8 pi there. From there, I'll go ahead and add 8 pi to 5 pi. That'll give me 13 pi over 12. Now keep in mind, we have to answer with degrees. Always pay attention to what you're asked to answer with on the SAT and pay attention to anything that's underlined, in this case, degrees. So we got to convert these radians to degrees. To do that, we'll take 13 pi over 12 radians. We're going to multiply it in a way that gets rid of this pi value by doing 180 degrees. Okay, that's not to the power. I guess I'll just write deg for degrees. Deg. Okay, degrees per pi radians. Okay, now, as you can see, our pi radians are going to cancel out. We're going to be left with 13 over 12 times 180. I'll quick put that in the calculator. 13 over 12 times 180. That's going to get you 195 as your value for angle T in degrees. So the answer there is going to be C. Moving on to question 23 now. Certain town has an area of 4.36 square miles. What is the area in square yards of this town? 1 mile is equal to 1,760 yards. Key thing here, once again, pay attention to anything that's underlined in the SAT. The big thing you need to pay attention to is the fact that it is square yards and square miles. Pay attention to units, guys. If you don't pay attention to units, you're going to miss questions. Square miles and square yards. All right, so since we're converting square miles to square yards, we're going to take this 4.36 square miles, and we have to multiply it by 1760 squared, because we have to keep in mind this conversion is only it's only one dimensional, right? Or I guess, I don't know if one dimensional is the right word, but it's just 1 mile equals 1760 yards. If we're doing square miles to square yards, you'd have to square, each of these. So you have to multiply by that 1760 squared. Now, if it was dealing with like cubic yards, then you'd have to raise it to the power of 3 because it'd have to be cubed. So pay attention to that on the SAT. That being said, let's go ahead and put this in the calculator. So 1760 squared multiplied by 4.36. That's going to give us 135,05536, which will be answer choice D. All right, moving on to question 24. Once again, I got to switch sides of my screen. So go ahead and take this chance to share this video with a friend. If you want to post it to your Snapchat story with a link, that'd be awesome. Would be much, much appreciated. All right, let's go to 24, switching the screen. There we go. Okay. For line H, the table shows 3 values of X, corresponding values of Y. Line K is the result of translating line H down 5 units in the XY plane. All right, this right here is what's going to get a lot of people on the SAT to get questions wrong. Is you absolutely need to, on the SAT, pay attention to translations and questions. It's fairly common for them to give you something like an equation or a table or a graph, and then state that a different equation or line or graph is a translation of the graph that they gave you. Okay, in this case, we're given line H in this table, but we're asked questions about line K, right? What is the x-intercept of line K? We're told line K is line H translated down 5 units in the XY plane. So always pay super close attention to your translations on the SAT math section. It's really, really crucial. Anyways, question 24. Let's go ahead and take a look. So we need to first find what line H is. So let's just quickly do that. So we see we go over by 5, we go up by 30. So our slope is 30 over 5, which is equal to 6. Okay, so I'm going to write line K. Line K is y equals 6x, since it's a line. Okay, so we have the slope. Now we need to get y-intercept. Okay, well, if we know that our slope is 6, we see that we have this x value of 18. I'll just go back 18, 6 times 18 in my calculator. 6 times 18 is going to be 108. Keep in mind, I have 130 as this y value, so I do 130 minus 108, and that's going to leave me with 22. Okay, now keep in mind that this is not plus 22. That would be incorrect because we have to move it down by 5, right? Because we have it translated down 5 units in the xy plane. So if I was to write the equation for line H, I could write line H is y equals 6x plus 22. Therefore, line K is translated down 5 units, and it's 6x plus 17. All right, now the reason that we got it to here is because now I see that in my answer choices, I've got y values that are all 0. Since my y values are all 0, I just set this 0 is equal to 6x plus 17. From there, I subtract 17 from both sides. Negative 17 equals 6x. I divide both sides by 6, and I get x is negative 17 over 6. Option A is not that. Option B is not that. Option C is not that. Option D is that. So D will be our correct answer there. Let's go ahead and move on to question 25. Once again, I got to switch sides to my screen. So go ahead and take this moment to post to your Instagram story this video or my channel, or text it to a friend on WhatsApp. All right, now we got question 25. Let's go ahead and switch the screen. There we go. All right. In the xy plane, the graph of the equation y equals negative x squared plus 9x minus 100 intersects the line y equals c at exactly 1 point. What is the value of c? Okay, so if we know that this quadratic is intersecting at exactly 1 point, in this case, this is actually a great question for Desmos. And the reason why I say that is it's not a super easy thing to factor this out. So I would literally just put this into Desmos. So let me go ahead and show Desmos. Okay, there's Desmos. And the reason that we're using Desmos is here is because on the digital SAT in Blue Book, the testing environment, you have access essentially to Desmos, right? It's available within Blue Book. So let's go ahead and graph this out. So it's negative x squared plus 9x minus 100. Let's quickly put this in. Negative x squared. And then it's negative x squared plus 9x. And then minus 100. Now always make sure that we can put equals y, it's fine. But always make sure that it's typed in correctly. You don't want to accidentally make a mistake typing and not catch it. That being said, go ahead and zoom out. Okay, so we know that intersects at exactly 1 point, so that's going to be where the vertex is. So let me go ahead and zoom in so you can see this clearly. Okay, as we can see, our vertex is going to be right here. We can kind of click on it. And we see that the x coordinate for that is 4.5. Now, keep in mind here that we're not looking for the x coordinate. We are looking for the y coordinate because it says intersects the line y equals c. Okay, so that y coordinate is negative 79.75. Okay, so what we can do is we can get rid of b, we can get rid of d because that's obviously not it. Then we're between a and c, so we can just quickly check. I guess obviously 481 over 4 would be something that is in I guess I'll just put it in the calculator, whatever. 481 over 4. That'd be 120 something, so that's not going to be right. Option C, 319 over 4. We'll just quick check that. That's going to be, yeah, okay, perfect. Yep, negative 79.75 is what that is equal to, which as we can see in Desmos is that point where it would intersect only once. Okay, so key thing here that I want you to notice is that you got to pay attention to what you're asked to answer with, in this case, the value of C, right? It's not at the point X, right? It's in order for the line y equals c to intersect at exactly 1 point. So you're looking for, and I'll actually quick graph this as well on Desmos so I can show you. If we were to put in the point y equals negative 79.75, as you can see, intersects at only 1 point. So always pay attention to what you're asked to answer with. Moving on to 26, go ahead and take this moment to share this video with your teacher so that they can show you more of my videos during class and I can get more views. Okay, question 26 right there. Let me go ahead and hide Desmos now. All right, sweet. So question 26. See if I can get over there. There we go. All right, perfect. For each real number r, which of the following points lies on the graph of each equation in the xy plane for the given system? Okay, so stacked equations. Once again, I've talked about this before, but you would typically look to add, subtract, and then maybe multiply one of those equations, or use substitution. Now, in this case, what I see is I've got 2 to 10, 3 to 15, 7 to 35. All of those are multiplied by 5 to get what is below. So 2 times 5 is 10, 3 times 5 is 15, 7 times 5 is 35. So that's good because we know that if a solution is if any of these points is a solution to one of them, it's also going to be the solution to the other because it's just multiplying the top equation by 5. Now, keep in mind that for this question, it really is just a substitution battle. So you want to be smart about the way that you do this or the order that you do this. And the reason why is because substitution takes the most time pretty much out of any question that you'll come across in the SAT. And you'll notice especially that if it's a substitution question that's coming towards the end, it's probably going to be a bit of a time suck. And because of that, you want to be selective in the way that you go about it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the equation that is more simple, which is 2x plus 3y is equal to 7. And that's the one that I'm going to use. And if it satisfies that, it will also satisfy the one below it. So that's great because we've already cut our time in half. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look for which answer choices are having an x value that is has a 2 as the denominator and y values that have a 3 in the denominator, or ones that are just extremely simplistic on their own, like a whole number that's between like 1 and 10 or something. Okay, so if I look at option A, I see that that's going to be over 5 and over 5. That's not very simple to do, so I'm not going to do that one first. Option B's got an x value over 2, which is good because that would simplify because that 2 is going to cancel. And then it's got a y value. It's not over 3, but it's very simple. It's just r. So that's a good one to check early on. If I look at C, I've got my y values that are over 3, so that's good. And then it's got simplistic x value as well. So B and C would probably be the first two I check. I'm going to take a look at D. Okay, so D has these 2s, but they're in the Y slot, and the Y slot's going to be multiplied by 3. So I would check that one third. I would check this one fourth, and I'd check these ones 1 and 2. And you could kind of just take your pick here. In this case, I guess I'll just pick C to start with. Anyways, all right, let's go ahead and put in R for the value of X. That'll be 2R plus, we've got 3y, so that'll be 3. Keep in mind our 3's are going to cancel here with that 3y, so we'll end up with 2r plus 7. So plus 2r plus 7 is equal to 7. Okay, we know that this isn't going to be right because that's going to end up leaving us with 4r plus 7 equals 7. So that's not going to work because we have for each real number r. So obviously that can't work. We have to get rid of r. So let's go ahead and test this B option right here. So once again, these 2's will cancel out since we have that 2 in front of that x. So that's going to leave us with negative 3r. I believe that's plus 7. Yeah, plus 7. And then we have, that would be plus 3 times our y value, which is r, is equal to 7. Okay, well, we have negative 3r and 3r, so those will cancel. We'll be left with 7 equals 7. So our answer there would be B. Keep in mind, like I said earlier, that since this bottom equation is just the top equation multiplied by 5, it will also satisfy that right there. Okay, so that being said, let's go ahead and move on to question 27. Go ahead and take this chance to subscribe if you have not already. And also drop a like. Also, you can give super thanks. Yeah, please send super thanks. Please send super thanks if this video is helpful. All right, question 27. The perimeter of an equilateral triangle is 624 centimeters. Okay, so perimeter is 624. Height of the triangle is k times root 3 centimeters, where k is a constant. What's the value of k? All right, let's draw this out. Anytime you have a question on triangles or on circles, try to draw them out. It's usually pretty helpful. Let's go ahead and do that. We know it's equilateral triangle, so let's just pretend that that looks equilateral because it's supposed to represent that. We have right angles here and here. We also know that in equilateral triangle, we have all the same angle measures, right, of 60, which means that this top one's going to get split into two 30-degree angles, and then we have 60 here and 60 here. This is important because now we have a 60-30-90 triangle. If you aren't familiar with a 60-30-90 triangle, I'm going to quickly show you what a 60-30-90 triangle has for special properties. Okay, so 60-30-90 triangle looks like this. The key properties are that it has values of x, where it's across from that 30, x times root 3, where it's across from the 60, and then 2x is the hypotenuse. All right, that being said, let's go and talk about this problem in particular. So we know that our height is k root 3, so k root 3. Okay, and I know that this is maybe I can zoom in a little bit. Let me see if I can zoom in to show you guys a little bit clearer. All right, there you go. Okay, so k root 3 is there. Now from here, we see that that's across from the 60. So since that's across from the 60, we know across from the 30 must be k, and we know that our hypotenuse must be 2k. Well, this makes it really easy because it's equilateral, so all the sides are the same. Okay, so this would be k and k, which would sum this to 2k, right? So now you have your perimeter must also equal 2k plus 2k plus 2k, which is 6k. Therefore, 6k is equal to 624. Divide both sides by 6. And k is going to equal, put it in a calculator real quick, 624 over 6 is going to be 104 for the value of k. So our answer there is going to be 104. Okay, I'll quickly zoom out so you can kind of see the whole question there. Okay, there it is. All right, so answer there is going to be 104. All right, so now we've just finished section 1. Let me see how long that took. Okay, it looks like around, actually I'm not sure how long it was because I started this recording earlier where I was getting everything set up. But anyways, that's the first section. Obviously, like it's going to have taken longer than it would if I'm doing it on my own because I'm giving you a bunch of explanations and talking about certain strategies, tips, things like that. But anyways, we'll go ahead and keep going on to the next section. Okay, there we go. Let me go ahead and switch the side again. Okay, there we go. We're on the right side. All right. Go ahead and take this moment to send a super thanks or comment at your friend or something. Anyways, going to number 1 now. Tilly earns P dollars for every W hours of work, which expression represents the amount of money in dollars Tilly earns for 39 W hours of work. All right, well, she earns P dollars for every W hours of work. She worked 39 W hours. Okay, our W's will cancel. And the amount she earned then is going to be equal to 39P. Okay, that's the amount that she earned, 39P. That's going to be answer choice A. Moving on to question 2 now. For a training program, Juan rides his bike at an average rate of 5.7 minutes per mile. Which function M models the number of minutes it will take Juan to ride X miles at this rate? Okay, so we don't know the amount of minutes it takes him to ride X miles. Well, we know that he's riding at an average rate of 5.7 minutes per mile. So if we take 5.7, we know X is the amount of miles that he's riding. Okay, so minutes per mile times number of miles gets us his total number of minutes, M of X. Therefore, answer there's got to be D. Moving on to question 3 now. Okay, once again, I got to switch sides. Go ahead and take this chance to comment some video requests. Let me know what videos you want, whether that's courses, whether that's YouTube Shorts, whatever. Okay, let me go ahead and switch the side. There we go. Question 3. Solution to the given system of equations is x, y. What's the value of y? All right, immediately I got 3x and negative 3x that jump out to me. Also, quick note, I want to pay attention to what I'm asked to answer with. That's the value of y. So I do want to get rid of these x's. I want to isolate y. I'll add these together. That's going to get me y is equal to 12 plus negative 6. 12 minus 6 is 6. Thus, I'm left with y is equal to 6. I'm only asked for the value of y, not 2y plus anything. So very easy to answer that one. That one's going to be B. Moving on to 4. Equation gives a speed s in miles per hour of a certain car t seconds after it began to accelerate. What is the speed in miles per hour of the car 5 seconds after it began to accelerate? Well, we know t is representative of the seconds after it began to accelerate. We're asked 5 seconds after it began to accelerate. We plug in 5 for t. 5 times 3 is going to give us 15. 40 plus 15 is going to give us 55. So our answer there will be D. All right, go ahead and take this moment to drop a comment and let me know what your goal score is on the SAT. Keep in mind the SAT is out of 1,600 points. All right, here's question 5. For the right triangle shown, A is equal to 4, B is equal to 5. Which expression represents the value of C? Well, let's go ahead and write this in. A is 4, B is 5. Well, we know that this is just A squared plus B squared plus C squared, right? So that's going to be A squared, which we'll just call A4, right? So 4 squared plus B, which is 5 squared, is going to equal the value of C squared. Keep in mind, we need the value of C, not C squared. So we have to take the square root of both sides, which means that we'll get C is equal to the square root of 4 squared plus 5 squared, which we see is going to be answer choice D. So D would be our answer for that question. Number 6 now. What is the solution to the given equation? All right, so this is really simple. It's just one sentence. What's the solution to the given equation? Subtract 5 from both sides. That'll give us 4x is equal to 160. Divide both sides by 4, and that's going to give us x equals 160 over 4, which is 40. So our answer there is going to be 40. Go ahead and take this moment to like the video if you have not already. And if you haven't liked the video by now, after me having asked you like 3 times, I take that as a sign of disrespect, to be honest. Like if you're here this long, go ahead and like the video. Why not? Anyways, here's question number 7. The x-intercept of the graph shown is x0. What is the value of x? Okay, so graph shown, or x-intercept shown is x0. What's the value of x? Well, that's going to be where our y is 0, which we see is right here. The value of x there is 7, so that one's really easy. Answer there is 7. Moving on to question 8, we've got function f is defined by f of x equals 1/10 x minus 2. What is the y-intercept of the graph? Y equals f of x in the xy plane. All right, so y-intercept we know is where x is 0. Okay, so 1/10 times 0 is going to be 0. 0 minus 2 is going to leave us with a value of -2. Okay, so we have 0 and -2 as our answer there. So that'd be answer choice B. Okay, moving on to question number 9. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if you guys saw that, but I got hit in like the eye with a bug. Yeah, that was kind of painful, I'm not gonna lie. All right, now we've got question number 9. Function f is defined by f of x is equal to 7x cubed in the xy plane. The graph of y equals g of x is the result of shifting the graph of y equals f of x down 2 units. Okay, you saw me talk about this in the last section. Transformations, pay close attention to them. Okay, we're given that f of x equals 7x cubed, but we're told y equals g of x is a result of shifting the graph down 2 units. Which equation defines function g? Okay, well, that's going to be 7x cubed. Now we're shifting it down 2 units, so all we're doing is subtracting 2 then. Okay, so A is wrong, B is wrong, C is going to be wrong as well, and our answer there would be answer choice D. Okay, moving on to question number 10. Which ordered pair xy is a solution to the given system of equations? Okay, so we've got x plus y is equal to 10, or I'm sorry, x plus 7 is equal to 10, x plus 7 squared is equal to y. Well, if x plus 7 is equal to 10, then we can just substitute in 10 for x plus 7, right? Stacked equations look to add, subtract, multiply, or substitute. In this case, substitute. Okay, so that'd be 10 squared is equal to y, thus y must equal 100. Only answer choice with y as 100 is answer choice A, so A is our answer there. As you can see, understanding that trick for stacked equations saves you a ton of time. All right, moving on to question number 11. If you want to take this chance to share this video with a friend, that'd be much appreciated. Posting it to Snapchat or Instagram stories would be awesome and much appreciated. Question 11, which expression is equivalent to this expression here? I'm gonna look for common terms, which we have as x cubed values. So 7x cubed minus 6x cubed will leave me with 1x cubed. Same thing, look for common values here, 7x and -3x. So keep in mind this subtraction sign gets applied here. So we have minus -3x, which turns into a plus 3x. So we got x cubed plus 10x. So we see that's gonna be answer choice A. Going to 12, function p is defined by p of n is equal to 7n cubed. What is the value of n when p of n is equal to 56? Okay, so p and n is 56. Solve for the value of n. 56 is equal to 7n cubed. Divide both sides by 7. Gives us n cubed is equal to 56 over 7, which would be 8. 8 is equal to n cubed. We'll take the third root of each of these. Keep in mind, third root of 8 is 2. So 2 is going to equal the value of n, and our answer there is 8. Okay, keep in mind 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. All right, number 13 is what we're on now. Go ahead and take this moment to subscribe if you have not already. If you have ideas for what I should say while I change the side of the screen during these videos, then let me know in the comments. Question number 13, in the figure shown, line C intersects parallel lines S and T. What's the value of X? All right, so key thing to understand with intersecting parallel lines is this angle here of 110 is gonna be the same as this angle here of 110. Okay, they're corresponding angles. Now from there, it's really easy. You're just gonna look to get this 180 degrees, right? Because it's sort of like that semicircle. So then you just have that 180 degrees and you subtract 110 degrees, and that's gonna give you 70 degrees as the value of X. Okay, so your answer there for the value of X is 70. All right, let me grab a quick swig of water. Okay. 14, a list of 10 values is shown. What is the mean of these data? To calculate the mean, we're going to sum the data and then divide by the number of data values. All right, so let's just go ahead and do that. We'll sum these together. I'm going to use a calculator. I'm not going to write it all out, so just I'll talk you through it. Okay, so you're going to open up your calculator, clear it, and then go 6 plus 8 plus 16 plus 4 plus 17 plus 26 plus 8 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5. Okay, but that gives us 100. How many data values do we have? Let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we got 10 data values. Okay, that's pretty simple. 100 over 10, that's going to leave us with 10. Okay, so our answer for the mean is going to be 10. So circle our answer of 10. Going on to question 15 now. Okay, let me know what videos you guys want next. Okay, question number 15. The equation E of t is equal to 5 times 1.8 to the power of t gives, okay, just quick thing I want to talk about. If you see this, where you have an initial value, a growth factor, and then it's raised to some power, always be thinking exponential growth formula. Okay, this is the initial value, this is your growth factor, and then this is the rate at which that growth factor is changing. All right, so the rate at which, or how much time has passed, right? Okay. Now it gives the estimated number of employees at a restaurant, t's number of years since the restaurant opened. Which of the following is the best interpretation of the number 5? That's the initial value. Okay, so that'd be, since this is all representing the estimated number of employees at a restaurant, this would be the estimated number of employees at the restaurant when it first opens, which we see as answer choice A. When the restaurant opened, option B, increase in estimated number each year, no. C, number of years it's been open, no. And then D, percent increase in the estimated number of employees each year, that is incorrect. Okay, number 16. What is the minimum value of the given function? Okay, this is super simple. We have x squared, that's always going to be positive. And then we have plus 55, so the minimum value would be 55. Okay, that one's really easy. Just recognize that x squared's got to be positive. If you're adding a positive number to anything, it's just going to get larger, so minimum value there would be 55. Number 17 it looks like we're on now. I'm so sorry. I just did like a massive hiss, and anyone who's wearing headphones probably heard that. So sorry about that. I should have just told you all to subscribe one more time. But anyways, moving on to question number 17. Each year, the value of an investment increases by 0.49% of its value of the previous year. Which of the following functions best models how the value of the investment changes over time? Okay, well, it's obviously increasing because it literally said it increases by 0.49% of its value of the previous year. So decreasings are all wrong. C, increasing exponential, yes. D, increasing linear, no. Okay, some of you may be wondering about the difference between increasing exponential, increasing linear, or the difference between all of these. I'll quickly touch on that. Okay, if the value of an investment is increasing by 0.49% of its value the previous year, that means the amount that it's increasing is dependent on what it was the prior year. And since it is dependent on what was the prior year, it's going to be exponential. Now, keep in mind, we're told that it's increasing by 0.49%. If we were told that it was decreasing by 0.49%, then that'd be decreasing exponential. Increasing and decreasing linear, obviously you're going up or down by the same amount every year, regardless of what the value was the previous year. All right, moving on to question number 18. Population of Greenville increased by 7% from 2015 to 2016. If the 2016 population is K times the 2015 population, what is the value of K? Well, obviously you would take 2015 population, which we'll call X is equal to 2015 population. You would take that and you have to multiply that by that 7% increase, which we represent as a decimal of 1.07 in order to get that 2016 population. So if the 2016 population is K times the 2015 population, what's the value of K? 1.07, so that'd be answer choice C. Moving on to question number 19, the expression is equivalent to a to the power of 11 over 12. Okay, where a is positive. Anytime I see a is greater than 0 or a is less than 0, I just think positive or negative. I just find that easier than sort of thinking about something like this. So that's just kind of a sort of a mindset that I think you should have on the SAT. But anyways, getting back to this question's specifics, I see that all of these numerator values are 132, and then the values out here are all what's different. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this numerator value. So to do that, we need to get, we'll do 132 divided by 11 to see what we're multiplying by. 132 divided by 11, that's gonna give us 12. Okay, so that'll give us 12, so we have to multiply by 1, so we'll have to do 12 over 12. That's gonna give us a to the power then of 131 over 12 times 12, which is 144. Okay, from there we could rewrite that as, I guess I'll just go ahead and rewrite it. So that'd be a to the power of 131, and that's an a, not a 9. A to the power of 131. And we're taking the 144th root of that, since 144 is the denominator in the exponent and 131 is the numerator in the exponent. So looking at our, I'm sorry, that should be 132, not 131. 132. Quick check that. Yeah, 132. Okay, sweet. From here, we just find which one matches this. We're going to see that that's answer choice B. So B would be our correct answer for number 19. Let's go ahead and move on to number 20. Number 20, go ahead and take this moment in time to like the video one more time. But don't dislike the video, just like it if you haven't yet. Question 20, an event planner is planning a party. It costs the event planner a one-time fee of $35 to rent the venue and $10.25 per attendee. I'll represent that as A. The event planner has a budget of $200. What is the greatest number of attendees possible without exceeding the budget? Okay, so we can meet the budget, but we cannot go over the budget. All right, so we've got our equation down. Keep in mind, $35 one-time fee, so we just add that, and then we have 10.25 times A, which that kind of looks like a Q, so I'll just rewrite that as an A. All right, there you go. What's the greatest number of attendees? Let's go ahead and solve this. We subtract 35 from both sides. That'll give us 165. Must be greater than or equal to 10.25A. From there, to solve for A, we divide both sides by 10.25. 165 divided by 10.25 is going to equal, and keep in mind, oh, it looks like I forgot the A there. There you go. Okay, keep in mind this still has to be greater than. There. All right. So let's go ahead and put that in the calculator. 165 divided by 10.25. That's going to be 16.09. 16.09. Okay, keep in mind A has to be less than or equal to that. So the greatest number of attendees then would be 16. Obviously, you cannot have a partial person. So our answer there is 16. Going on to 21, absolute value question. I don't think we've had an absolute value question on this test yet, so let's go into this one. If absolute value of 4x minus 4 is 12, what's the positive value of x minus 1? Okay, keep in mind, like I talked about earlier, you want to pay attention to what you're asked to answer with on the SAT. Some people here are just going to end up answering with the value of x, and they're going to get it wrong because you need to do the value of x minus 1. Anyways, a couple ways that you could look at this. One of it, which would be looking at 4x minus 4, understanding sort of division by 4 to get to the x minus 1. In context of absolute value, I really don't like looking for ratios on absolute value. On absolute value, I think it's smart to just play it safe and just go ahead and solve for x. It's just kind of my take on absolute value, just kind of my gut instinct. But anyways, let's go ahead and solve for x here. And I'll show you how to get both solutions, even though we only need one here. Okay, it's going to equal 112. I'll add 4 to both sides. I get 116. It's equal to 4x. Divide both sides by 4. That means that x is going to equal, I think that's 104, but I'll quick check. Not 104. 116 divided by 4, 29. Okay, yeah, I don't know why I was saying 104. X is going to equal 29, positive value. Okay, that's perfect then. Okay, so we just take that 29, we subtract 1, and we're going to get 28 as the positive value. From here, we could go ahead and move on, but I'll quickly show you how you could get the other value of x. This won't be the other answer, but it'd be the other value of x. Okay, and that would be that you would take minus 4x minus 4, distribute that negative sign. And this is because it's absolute value. So when it's absolute value, you can get two solutions for the value of x. The first being just how I showed you to set it up, and the second being you put this negative sign out in front of everything that's in that absolute value and you apply it. Okay, so then we'd have negative 4x plus 4 is equal to 112. We'd go ahead and subtract 4 from both sides. We'd get 108 is equal to negative 4x. Then from there, we would get that x is equal to 108 divided by negative 4, which would give us negative 27. And as you can see, that would give us a value of negative 28, which it can't be correct because it has to be the positive value. But anyways, I just want to show you that absolute value because we hadn't covered that yet on this test. That being said, let me go ahead and erase this so that no one is confused later on. But anyways, going on to number 22. We've got a cube has an edge length of 68. A solid sphere has a radius of 34 inches, and it's inside of the cube. Okay, so 34 is equal to R. To the nearest cubic inch, what is the volume of the space in the cube not taken up by the sphere? Once again, pay attention to anything underlined on the SAT. Okay, so volume of the space in the cube not taken up by the sphere. If we quick draw this, I'm just going to draw it two-dimensional because I can't really draw very well. Okay, we're looking for the value of the space that is not taken up. So this is a subtraction question. Okay, so we need to start by calculating the volume of the cube. So that's going to be 68 cubed. Keep in mind length times width times height in a cube, all of those are the same. So 68 cubed. Now we have the volume of a sphere, which is 4/3 pi r cubed. Our radius is 34, so 34 cubed. Now from here, we can go ahead and put this in our calculator. Let's see what that comes out to. 68 cubed minus 4/3 times pi times 34 cubed. That's going to give us 149,796. So our answer there would be A. All right, moving on to question number 23. Go ahead and take this moment to comment your goal score for the SAT if you have not done that yet. And also comment your test date so I can know how far out you guys are from taking the test. Here we've got question number 23. What is the diameter of a circle in the XY plane with this equation? All right, I'll quickly go over the circle equation in case anyone doesn't know it. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared, where r is your radius and your center of your circle is the point hk. Key thing to note here is that hk, note that there's negative signs in front of h and k, but your center is still h and k, not with a negative sign. Wanted to point that out. Anyways, that being said, we need to calculate the diameter of the circle. We know 16 is the value of r squared. 16 is equal to r squared. From there, we take the square root of both sides. That gets us 4 is equal to r. Therefore, our diameter, keep in mind what you're asked to answer with on the SAT, because 4 is an option here, but it's not correct. Okay, so our answer for the diameter is 8, because it's 2 times the radius. So our answer there is B. All right, number 24, for the exponential function f, value of f of 1 is k. K is a constant, which the following equivalent forms of the function. F shows the value of k as coefficient or base. All right, this one's a little bit tricky. So if we take a look here, we've got value of f of 1 is k. So we can just quick write f of 1 is k. K is a constant, which shows the value of k as the coefficient or the base. Okay, a coefficient would be something like 50, 80, 128, 24.8. Okay, so let's go ahead and plug in 1 and see if that's the case anywhere. Okay, if we put in 1 here, we have 1.6 squared times 50. That's impossible for that to equal anything that's a coefficient or base. And option A, same thing in B, it's 80 times 1.6 to the power of 1. There's no way that that can be a coefficient or base, equal a coefficient or base that's in that formula or that equation, or that function, sorry. And then option C, we have 128 times 1.6. All right, and then we have 1 minus 1. Keep in mind, I'm getting this 1 from f of 1 equals k. Okay, 1 minus 1 would put this to the power of 0 for that 1.6. That'd be equal to 128 times 1.6 to the power of 0. 1.6 to the power of 0 is 1. So that would equal 128, which we see is a coefficient in that function. So our answer there has to be answer choice C. Moving on to question number 25 now. Okay, go ahead and take this moment to send a super thanks if this video is helping you out. Okay, here's question number 25. All right, a model estimates that at the end of each year from 2015 to 2020, the number of squirrels in population was 150% more than the number of squirrels in the population at the end of the previous year. The model estimates that at the end of 2016, okay, this is interesting. We have 2015 to 2020, and then we have 2016. Okay, so at the end of 2016, there were 180 squirrels in the population. Which of the following equations represents this model where n is the estimated number of squirrels in the population t years after the end of 2015 and t is less than or equal to 5? Okay, so key thing I'm seeing is that we have this 180 squirrels in the population, but that's at the end of 2016, and our model here is starting at starts at 2015. So we actually have to backtrack to get our initial value in our exponential growth formula. So we know it can't be 180 because we know that's 1 year after, and we know each year it's 150% more than the number of squirrels at the end of the previous year. So we can go ahead and get rid of C and D. And now we don't actually have to calculate it because we know it'll be 72. Now the difference is between 1.5 and 2.5 as for the growth rate. Now a growth factor of 1.5, growth factor of 1.5 would be 50% increase every year. A growth factor of 2.5 is 150% increase every year. Because keep in mind that if it was something like, I guess we can just use this as an example. If it was 50% year over year, that is just 1.5, right? Because 1 is if there's a 0% increase over a year, right? So keep that in mind. Always pay attention to if it's something like 150% more than the number of the previous year, things like that. But yeah, overall, I think the big thing for this question is making sure you're paying close attention to dates. Dates are really important on the SAT because you can come across a difficult question like this where you have an initial population and an exponential growth formula where you have a date that is not at the start or at the end. So always pay close attention to that. It's really important because if you didn't catch that, you'd answer with, I guess I should probably go ahead and circle my answer. Answer here is B. Because if you didn't catch that, your answer would end up being answer choice D, which would be wrong. So always pay close attention to that. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on to question 26. Go ahead and take this chance or this moment in time to like the video if you have not already. And also, please comment something I should say while I'm moving things while I'm switching sides of the test, because I've just been saying like the same things for the past hour. Anyways, question 26. In a given pair of equations, A and B are constants. The graph of this pair of equations in the XY plane is a pair of perpendicular lines. Okay, perpendicular, that's good. Which of the following pairs of equations also represents a pair of perpendicular lines? All right. So this first pair of equations is perpendicular. In order for it to be perpendicular, we need to have slopes that are reciprocals and opposite signs. So I'll quickly show you what that means. I'm actually just going to use this question as the example. So I'll quick show this. Note that both of these are in standard linear form, which is where you have a coefficient in front of x and then a coefficient in front of your y, and that's set equal to a constant. That's important because your slope can then be calculated by m equals negative a over b, where a is the value of the coefficient in front of x and b is the value of the coefficient in front of y. So let's go ahead and calculate that for this first equation. Okay, that would be slope equals negative a, which in this case would be negative 5 over 7, because 7 is that b value. Now, the slope then for this equation down here is going to have to be the opposite sign, so it'll have to be positive, and then the reciprocal, so it'd be 7 over 5. Now, if it's 7 over 5, then we know that the a value here has to be actually negative 7, right? Because keep in mind that the slope for standard linear form is negative a over b. So to get that positive, it'd have to be that negative 7. Okay, and the value of b would just have to be 5. Now, key thing that you need to recognize here is that we have 5x and then 5y, and then we have 7y and negative 7x. Now, what you have to see is that the coefficients are switched, right? The coefficient in front of x is now the coefficient in front of y. The coefficient that's in front of y is now the coefficient in front of x. But there can only be one sign change. Okay, so you'll notice that the only sign change here is in front of the coefficient in front of x, right? It goes from being a positive coefficient to a negative coefficient. But the coefficients in front of y stay the same, because if there's two sign changes, we're not going to end up actually changing sign in the slope equation. There will only be one sign change. All right. Now that we know that, let's go ahead and keep going through this. So we know our value for a is negative 7. We know our value for b is 5. So let's go ahead and run through these. Okay, this is a whole new pair of equations here. Okay, we do know the values of a and b, right? So we have to check each of these pairs of equations to see if they're perpendicular. They are all in standard linear form as well, so we can still use m equals negative a over b. All right, let me actually write this a little bit higher up. B equals 5. All right, so 10x plus 7y, we know that right there we've got negative a, so negative 10 over 7. And then down here, we've got our value of a, which is negative 7, which negative 7 gives us positive 7. Actually, you know what we can do? Let's just do this. We'll just plug in. This is going to be way faster. Okay, so negative 7, and then b value is 5, so that become negative 10. As you can see, we do switch our coefficients, but we have two sign changes. So a is incorrect. And then if we look at b, we've got, let's go ahead and plug in our a value, so negative 7 here. And then we have plus 2 times b, b is 5, so that gives us plus 10y. We do have the opposite coefficients, and we have only one sign change, so b would have to be our answer. Okay, so as you can see, that's way faster. Okay, I accidentally kind of started going down the rabbit hole of doing m equals negative a over b for all of these. And then I remembered I literally like 1 minute ago just told you the trick of looking at the coefficients and then flipping the sign. So that's all we have to do there on number 26. Moving on to number 27. Guys, please like the video. Like, I'm so dehydrated right now because I've just been talking this whole time continuously and pretty loudly. So like the video, because like my eyes are like watering from like how dehydrated I am. Number 27, in the given equation, c is a constant. The equation has no real solutions. Anytime you're told something has two real solutions, one real solution, or no real solutions, pay attention to it. If c is greater than n, what is the least possible value of n? Okay, I'll quickly go over b squared minus 4ac for anyone who doesn't know it. If b squared minus 4ac is greater than 0, or in other words, is positive, that means that there's two real solutions. Now, if b squared minus 4ac is equal to 0, that means that there is one real solution. And if b squared minus 4ac is less than 0, then that means there are 0 real solutions, or in other words, there are no real solutions. Okay, now you might be wondering what the value of b is. I'll quickly show you. Keep in mind this applies for quadratics that are set equal to 0. So if something isn't set equal to 0, you have to set it equal to 0 first. The value of a is whatever the coefficient is in front of x squared. So in this case, a is equal to 1. The value of b is whatever is in front of that x value. So in this case, b is negative 34. Okay, the value of c, let me zoom in actually. I just noticed this is pretty zoomed out. Okay, sorry about that. I feel like I've been zoomed out for a while. That's my fault. I should have caught that earlier. And then c is going to be that value of the coefficient, which in this case is just c. So c is equal to c. All right, from here, We're told that the equation has no real solutions, okay, which means that it has to be set, or it has to be less than 0, as you can see, okay, less than 0. Let's go ahead and draw this out. So we got negative 34 squared minus 4 times a is just 1, so minus 4a times c. This is what we get. It's got to be less than 0. All right, from here, we want to isolate c. So let's go ahead and do negative 34 squared, see what that gets us. That's going to give us 1156. So we got 1156 minus 4c must be less than 0. I'm going to go ahead and add 4c to both sides. So now I get 1156. It must be less than 4c. From there, I'm going to divide c by both sides. Or I'm sorry, divide 4 from both sides. Okay, 1156 over 4 is going to give us 289. All right, so from here we see that c must be greater than 289, which, as you can see, if we look back up here at c is greater than n, okay, we see that n would be 289. Okay, so our least possible value of n is 289. So our answer is 289. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and consider sending a super thanks to help support my channel. Additionally, please drop a comment below letting me know what videos you want me to make in the future. And if you are looking for additional educational services that I offer, please check out my website, haydenrhodea.com.